Stop doing this now. Stop waiting for them to change because waiting doesn't fix anything. It just trains you to settle. I'm going to give you 5 steps that will help you see what's really going on and what it's costing you every time you say, maybe they'll change. Hi, everyone. I'm Kanchan Kulkarni, and I have helped so many women break free from this exact waiting game, the one that drains you from the inside out. And I want you to really hear this. But before I start, picture this. You're standing at a bus stop. It's hot, you're tired, and the bus should have been there ages ago. You keep checking your phone, glancing down the road, convincing yourself that it's on its way to you. Just 5 more minutes, you say. You think about calling an Uber, but that feels expensive. You think about walking, but you're too drained. So you wait, you tell yourself it's fine, it'll come. It always does eventually. You stay there, waiting for it to arrive. But you've stayed here longer than you should have because leaving feels like giving up. And because deep down, you're afraid that the second you walk away, the bus will finally show up. Now, you could have walked to your destination by now as well. You could have saved yourself time, saved yourself your sanity, and maybe even felt proud that you actually moved. But you didn't. Because in your head, waiting feels safer than any other option. In fact, you may even think waiting is your only option. If you don't know what I'm talking about, this episode is probably not for you. But if what I've said has made you stop and think, keep watching because I have so much more to share with you. Now, when I work with women in this pattern, they all say the same thing. I wasn't waiting because I was weak. I was waiting because I was scared to start over. And I get that. I have waited for things to change in many situations too, instead of changing them myself. But here's what I want you to know. While you're waiting for someone to change, something else is changing. You. You are changing. Your confidence, your energy, your sense of what is normal. Every extra minute at that bus stop drains a little more out of you. So before we talk about how to break this cycle, I want you to ask yourself, how much longer am I willing to keep waiting for a bus that might never come? Because step 1 begins the moment you stop staring down that road and you finally look at the pattern that has been keeping you there, unable to move. So, step 1, see the pattern, not the promise. When you're deep in it, you don't realize it's a pattern. You think it's just a rough patch or that your partner, your parent, your sibling, your friend, whoever it is trying, but life has gotten in the way. However, when it keeps happening, it's not life getting in their way, it's who they're choosing to be. The pattern always looks the same. They hurt you, they apologize, they promise to do better. You forgive them because you believe that the apology means something. And for a little while, it probably does. They're more careful, they check in, they say the right things. You breathe easier and think, finally, they get it. They get me. But then it starts to slip again and everything returns. The frustration, the dismissals, the rude behavior, the selfishness, the blame, the distance, the unreasonable demands, the anger, and sometimes even the verbal or physical abuse. After the storm comes the calm again because you chose to keep the peace and you chose to stay silent. The pattern, therefore, is pretty simple. They break something, you fix it, they feel better, you feel worse. And this cycle, it keeps on repeating until one day you're so used to repairing things that you don't see what they're breaking anymore. Chaos, when they are around, is just a regular day for you. And you have learned how to tiptoe around them and find your little corner of peace. I see this with clients all the time. They'll say, but he really means it when he apologizes. And maybe he does. But meaning it isn't enough because change isn't about emotion, it's about consistency. And here's another important thing you need to realize. Seeing the pattern doesn't mean you stop caring. It means you stop making excuses and start making plans for how to heal from the situation that is keeping you stuck. That is why you're here. You're here because you're stuck and you want to know how to get out of the situation. Because when you see clearly, you will stop confusing an apology for love because apology without change is a manipulation tactic. And here's what I tell every woman who is stuck in this loop. Promises are words. If you really want to know who someone is, watch what they do repeatedly. Step 2, Stop trying to heal through hope. Now, hope can be a beautiful thing, but in the wrong hands, it becomes the reason you stay stuck. Most people don't realize that hope can turn toxic when it replaces the truth. You start hoping instead of observing, you start hoping instead of accepting, and soon you're building a future on something that doesn't exist other than in your own mind. I once worked with a woman who said, "He's not bad, he just needs time to change." So I asked her, "How much time have you already given him?" 4 years, she said. 4 years of waiting, of forgiving, of believing time would make him more responsible, more accountable. 4 years of waiting for promises to be kept. 4 years of waiting to be seen, heard, loved. That's almost 208 weeks and 1,460 days. Now, here's what she learned and what you need to hear. Time doesn't heal people who aren't working on themselves. It just gives them more opportunities to mistreat you. And each time you stay silent, they push the envelope of disrespect even further. I'm going to say it again. Time doesn't heal people who aren't working on themselves. If they don't do anything to change themselves, nothing in their behavior or the relationship will ever change. Hope makes you see potential. Truth makes you see patterns. Only one of them is going to protect you in this particular situation. If someone keeps saying they'll do better, but their actions never follow their words, what you're feeling isn't love anymore. It's a cocktail of emotions, of hope and fear and resentment and sadness and lots of confusion. You can't inspire change by being endlessly patient. You can't cry, forgive, and hold everything together, hoping it will make them wake up one morning and value you more. That's not love. Now, here's what happens when you keep holding the relationship together with the glue of hope. You start believing that if you just show more grace, give more chances, they'll eventually realize how much you love them and they will change for you. But they won't. Because the more you cover for their lack of effort, the less reason they have to grow. It's like watering a dead plant because you remember how green it used to be. You are not healing or nurturing the plant. You're just refusing to let go of it. Now, if this hits a nerve, it's because deep down you already know it's true. You've been feeling the gap between what you've been giving and what you have been getting back. You have been defending someone who has stopped defending you a long time ago. You can't fix this by waiting. You fix it by facing it, by saying, "I see what's happening here and I'm done hoping for words to turn into action." Because hope doesn't rebuild trust. Only action will do that. When you stop trying to survive on hope, something powerful happens. You stop outsourcing your peace to someone else and you start taking responsibility for it. And that's when you start to heal for real by trusting that you are so much more than you have been made to believe. Step 3. Measure change by the calm, not the chaos. Change that shows up in a crisis isn't change, it's control. Think about what usually happens. Things explode, the argument, the distance, the threat of losing you, and suddenly everything you've been asking for appears. The words, the effort, the affection. It feels like proof. But what it really is pressure to return back under their control. One of my clients said, "The love bombing starts whenever I decide to leave. Then I'm the best and the only person who cares for him in the whole world. And even the thought of living without me gives him a panic attack." "So what do you do then?" I asked her. "I go back." And she was so sad when she said that because she realized the pattern at that time. Emotions are signals. And if you feel sad when you should be happy, you need to ask yourself why. You need to question yourself to understand what is hiding behind the surface of those perfect words and painful actions. Now, most people confuse someone's desperation to be with you as growth. They think something is changing. They see someone's effort to stop you from leaving and they call it change. But change is in consistency. Now look for consistency in safety, in love, in security, and commitment. If you don't find it, there is no change. Change is when words and actions stop competing with each other and when you no longer feel the need to keep checking whether you are safe or not. That's when you know something real has shifted. Not because they said they would do it, not because you demanded it, but because the energy of the relationship has truly shifted. It has stopped being reactive and started becoming reliable. Most people stuck in toxic relationships never reach that point because they keep believing the false promises. So if you want to know whether something is shifting, don't look at how hard they try when you start to pull away or threaten to leave. Look at what happens when you choose to stay. Step 4. Lower your timeline, not your standards. The longer you wait, the harder it becomes to leave because you start saying things like, we've come so far, or after everything we've been through, we can't give up now. But surviving together isn't the same as growing together. Time doesn't heal a wound that someone keeps reopening for you. It just dulls your awareness until pain becomes your constant companion. I've seen people spend years inside a toxic cycle believing that waiting means love, as if staying longer somehow adds weight to the relationship's worth. It proves their loyalty. But what's really happening underneath that loyalty is a slow rearranging of boundaries, one by one, so gently you barely notice them. And before you know it, your standards haven't just disappeared, you have adapted to fit what's available to you. That's what waiting does. It doesn't just take time, it reshapes what you believe is possible. People often think patience is proof of love, but there's a line between patience and paralysis. One keeps the door open, the other keeps you trapped inside a room that keeps shrinking by the day. When you keep extending your timelines, when you keep waiting 1 month, one milestone, one new promise, they are gaining time, but you are losing it because you keep giving yours away to them. Most people don't notice that trade until it's too late or until they realize how small they've become in order to keep this relationship intact. Lowering your timeline doesn't mean you have to leave. It doesn't mean you have to walk out. It can also mean coming back to the present and asking, what's actually changing right now? Not next month, not after the next crisis, but right now. Because if nothing is shifting in the present, then the future you're waiting for is already gone. There's something deeply human about wanting to believe that more time will fix what's broken. It keeps the promise of love alive, but in this case, it's doing the exact opposite. It's extinguishing every possibility of a fairy tale ending. It may be time to forget about how long you've been waiting and start thinking about how much longer you're willing to live in a version of love that keeps asking you to shrink just to stay in the relationship. Step 5. The moment you stop. There's a moment when something in you just stops. Not because you've had enough, but because you finally see there's nothing left to wait for. You realize that the conversations, arguments, and fights that you're having have already happened 100 times before, just with different words. You've started to realize that every apology is just a reset button pulling you in deeper. And suddenly, the hope that used to hold you together feels heavy. When you stop waiting, you're not necessarily walking away from them. You get to walk out of the trance that they have kept you in to control you. For the first time, your energy can turn inward, towards you, to look at what your needs are. That's what the end of waiting really feels like. Not a bang, not an immediate freedom, just the slow return of your own voice. The kind that doesn't beg or bargain or hope. It just starts learning how to breathe. And that breath starts in our session where you get to see the full picture without someone telling you that you, your truth, or your reality don't matter. They do. And now you know it too. Before I end, let me say that waiting for someone to change keeps you stuck in a loop that only ends when you decide to stop participating. You can't control whether they grow, whether they take responsibility or show up differently, but you can control the choices you make about your life. You can control how you show up for yourself, and you can control how much responsibility you are willing to take for your own happiness rather than waiting for someone else to come and change your life. Because change doesn't begin when their words and actions start to align. It begins when you stop adjusting your expectations for them. It begins when you stop calling instability love. It begins when you stop waiting for their ideal version to show up and start responding to your reality. You've seen the pattern. You've seen what hope without action costs. Now, the only thing you need to ask yourself is whether you're willing to keep paying that price. You don't have to announce anything or make dramatic moves. You just have to stop waiting and start paying attention. Because once you do, everything else will start to fall into place. And that's how you end the cycle quietly, clearly, and on your own terms, with awareness first and then action. So, my question to you, as always, is, are you ready? Until next time, stay safe and see you in the next episode.